Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining in. Today is the sixth session of the PMP Learning, and we are going to do hands-on on the application process. Now, the reason I have not done the hands-on on the application process in the very beginning is that when you plan or when you want to write down your application process, you must be writing that down in a PM language. So far we have completed a good amount of PM fundamentals. We also have completed stakeholder management, right? So by this time you will be knowing how to write your experience and use those PM words there, right? And if you already had a practice done on how to write a business case and a project charter, you will be knowing definitely the PM language piece. So exam application should be started as early as possible. It takes time. The good news is that you don't have to write the entire application in one shot and click on submit. PMI gives you 3 months of time. So basically it's an online application and you can keep on saving it and keeping that on a draft mode and come back when you think that you have got more information, you're more ready, and then and only then you go and click on submit. Take your time on that. So before I get into application, let me share with you a couple of things here. These two are the books which I already told in the very first session that keep them a copy with you. Download this. These are free of cost. PMP exam content online and the certification handbook. So if I go into the certification handbook, this is where it details about the entire process, or basically the exam content. That talks about the exam content which is there, people, process, and the business environment, and talks about all the tasks which is there. But more than that, which we have discussed so far in the session 3 and 4 about the entire exam syllabus, we already have stepped into the people. We have got a hold of a good amount of the people processes like stakeholder management, right? But we are taking a pause now into the training content. This is like more this session will be more into the uh, application process. So let's go down and find out what is there in the application. If you come there, it will talk about PMP application and payment. There are two ways in which you can go for the application. One is when your educational background is a secondary degree, like a diploma kind of stuff, and one is when you're having a 5 years, like a proper degree. Okay, so in the case of the secondary like diploma, you need to have minimum 60 months or 5 years of non-overlapping PM experience. Now non-overlapping means, if I go down, it talks about it like this. This is a nice diagram. Let's say that you have got a project, okay, which started from Jan and ended in the month of April, and you have got a project 2 also, which started in the month of Feb and it went till the month of June. Now you cannot give both these projects which are overlapping the timelines. You can give like project 1 from Jan till Feb and project 2 from Feb till June, but you cannot give Jan till April for one and again Feb till June for two, because the overlapping months will be from Jan till Feb. I mean from Feb till April, right? So here it tells you very clearly that project 2 during May, June would count as 2 months. So you cannot count the time working on both projects during February to April twice. So it's always good to give the experience of the projects in the application form as two separate discrete projects. And they should not be having any overlapping months. If at all the months are overlapping, then you have to make sure you need to take off the months which are kind of common ground between both the projects. Be careful on this, because if you do not do that, then those experience will be cut off by the BMI team. Okay, and that's why they keep on saying, like mentioning very nicely, that it should be non-overlapping. Okay, the second part is that if you are not having a diploma but you are having a 4 years degree, then in that case your experience comes down. So in first case, when the diploma was there, it was like 60 months or 5 years. The second case will be 3 years or 36 months. Now, how do we calculate the 36 months? So 36 months, you have to calculate the number of hours. So let's say in a day, if you're working for 8 hours in a company, then In a week, it comes to 8 into 5, which is 40 hours, right? So similarly, in a month, if it's 40 into 4 weeks, then it is 160 hours, right? So similarly, you have to calculate that in 36 months, how many hours or how many working hours are there. Because if you are going to calculate in the pace of 36 months and then take it like 36, like each month will be having, like each day will be having 24 hours, that will make your application being cancelled out, because you cannot work like 24 hours in a day, right? So it has to be like 8 hours in a day, and then multiply that, and then you fetch the number of hours which you need. So that's why they have given the number of hours as well. When you go to the PMI website, the number of hours are given. So if it's a 4-year degree or MBA, if you're having a master's, then the experience comes down to 3 years or 36 months. But if it's like a diploma which you're having, then 5 years or 60 months. Okay. Here they're also telling that a postgraduate or a master from GAC accredited program, that will lead to like minimum 2 years. That will reduce it further. Okay, I'm not sure about this. The GAC accredited program, I've not done this, but if you've got this a GAC, then please go ahead and your application will be created back with only 24 months, not even 3 years. Okay. Now let's talk about this from the website itself. If I go to the website, let's see, this is the website, and I have not logged in with my actual logins there, because if I log in with my correct credentials, then it will take me to the PMI site, and there I will not be able to apply for the PMP, because I already have got a PMP, and the apply button will be grayed out for you. So I've created a dummy account for myself just to show you how it works. So if I go and log in, the login is free, of course. So your first step will be that you register yourself in the website, which is completely free of cost. Then you go to certifications, you go to PMP here. And once you go to PMP, then you will be seeing the button like apply for this certification and all that, which you can click on there right away. Or it tells you a little bit more like get ready, get started and all that. So if I go to how to apply, this part, get ready, then it will show you in detail. So journey becoming certification begins with the application. Then first of all, it tells you confirm if you are eligible as per the degree or the diploma which you are holding. So it can be a 4-year degree, okay, which brings you down to 36 months, okay, but that should be within the past 8 years. So somebody has got an experience of, let's say, 20 years, then the experience will only count if the PM experience is holding for the past 8 years, or in the past 8 years only, not beyond that. And for the diploma, it is like 60 months, like 5 years. Uh, Again, plus all this, you need to get a 35 hours of project management training. So let's calculate this. It basically boils down to uh, in a day, if I'm doing 8, in a week, I'm doing 8 into 540, in a month, if I'm doing 160, then in 3 years, or let's say 36 months with 3 years, that will be 480 hours. Okay, now you have to calculate how do you want to segregate your experience in 480 hours. Maybe one project will be, I don't know, 50 hours or 60 hours. But PMI says that give the projects which are minimum 4 weeks of time. So you can ask me that if I'm a TPM and I have done a day one launch of a program, can I give it as an experience of a PM? Absolutely yes. Okay, because that was a unique program that led to a day one launch of a site, and that also had an end date, the go live date, right? So definitely that can be given. Just ensure that you are calculating the number of hours precisely. Also, I will say that do not try to make it exactly 480 by 480 or 100 by 100. It sounds very unrealistic, right? Your projects will not be having exact round of numbers. Try to get a kind of a figure which is approximate, or which you got from maybe your PM tool like Workfront, which is okay, but do not try to make up the numbers, because PMI, the people who are going to check your application, they have got very sharp eyes. They are doing this for a long time, and they will immediately find out that you are trying to make up some numbers. Like 480 by 480 is kind of an impossible trend, but they will try to make it up. Okay. Now the next step, the important part, once you know that which bracket you fall, have you got a diploma or you got a degree? In respect of that, you have to find out your years of experience. You may ask me that what do I do if I do not have this experience? I will say that then wait for the time you get experience, because there is no other way to go through the exam process. If you do not have the experience, you think that will be built in the next 2 years or 3 years, wait for that time instead of giving a false information to PMI, because your application will be rejected and you will not be able to again submit your application for the next 12 months. That's complete loss of time, right? And any which of the bracket you fall, a diploma or a degree, you need to prove that you have gone through 35 hours of PM training, which is this one. Okay. Now, this training can be either from an authorized training partner, which was the only option in the past, but they have also made it a on-demand courses, which can be a course which can be done online maybe, and you can show a proof to PMI that this is a training which I have done. Now you can ask me that how can I show this particular training as a proof to PMI, because these trainings are uploaded in KNet, and that's what I'm working on right now. So one of my second work which is being done in parallel is I'm building a website, an external website, where the training content will be uploaded, and it will be completely free for the entire Amazonians. Anybody can log in from Amazon free of cost, and they can finish the training. And once they finish, they will be getting a certificate which will clearly tell them 35 hours of training or PDUs being earned with my name and my PMP number there. Very simple. Okay, so in that way, you can completely beat this. You don't really have to go for any paid training or go for any other exorbitant kind of paid authorized training, which will not make much sense there, right? So that's something which is in place. Probably by the end of May, I will bring up the website, and you will see that by June, July, we will completely launch the website. Okay. Um, Gather your info. Now, this is something which you should do a rough work here. I will always say that open Excel sheet, and then there you document the stuff like project A, then project B, then project C, the duration of each of the project. And the projects which you are showing there, try to break down the projects into initiating, planning, execution, monitoring control, and closing. So by now we all have seen what happens in initiation stage, right? We do the business case. The business case is the input to the project charter where we officially assign the project manager, and also in the project charter we get into the key inputs like high level risk, key stakeholder, all the key level milestones, the signature of the program sponsor, and all that. And also the project manager is going to develop the stakeholder register on the initiation phase. And then comes the planning where we do a couple of steps, right? The scope, cost, time, and we get into planning phase. Planning we have not done yet. We have just done the initiation phase. So like that, you have to break down the project into segments. Most of the time, you may see that you have not done too much of work into initiation phase. Like if you are a day one launch TPM for CIS, then I will say probably the initiation phase was already done by the intake team, right? They have done all the game plans, the budgeting was done, and then they would have rolled up the project to your management who have given it to you, right? So in that way, maybe you do not have too much of work in the initiation phase, but then planning phase onwards, you can always say that you planned out the project, and you check the task and the activities, and then you kind of had a kind of key milestones, like define, design, deliver, like order, deliver, and then you get into the deployment stage and testing, and then finally hand over the project to the operations. So that all has to be documented in the way in which we have seen in the past few sessions in how to segment your waterfall or your conventional project into this 5 process groups. Because PMI, more than looking at your project experience, they will look into the process groups and how you are segregating your project into the 5 process groups. Now, good news is that now PMI is also giving a drop down in the experience. I will show you that when I come to the application process page. It gives you also one more option there, like it can be a waterfall or it can be agile. Now we have not stepped into agile yet, though agile is sprinkled all over the PMP now, but we will step into agile very soon, where I will show you that agile is not the conventional 5 process groups. It's more about where the scope will be changing, and things will be redefined again and again. It can be Scrum, it can be Kanban, can be Lean, can be XP, can be DSDO. So many options, like close to a dozen options are there in the agile framework. Okay, so if you have done an agile project as a Scrum Master, that also can be given. Like sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3, sprint 4 is minimum what PMI is asking. If the project completed in 2 sprints, like 2 weeks time, then it's not good to give that project because the essence was very small, the impact was very small. Okay, so where you have worked, your past companies, now people who are already in this company for a long time, maybe 10 plus years, I probably all your experience will be coming from this company only. But there are people who would have joined this company or here for 1 or 2 years, then all then most of their experience will be coming from their past companies. So you have to do a kind of a chart with yourself, like your past or past company, where are the companies where you were involved as or as in the project. Your designation might not be a project manager, that is fine. You may be a software developer, you may be anyone, okay, in the project, okay, a trainer also, that's okay. But the point is like where you engaged or plugged into a live project, and what was your role in the project in the different 5 process groups. Simple. Okay, so that's why it's asking like where you have worked, your roles and the responsibilities which you had in the project, and of course the duration of the projects. Okay, trainings, you have to talk about the institutions which you attended. Now your certificate itself will tell you like from where you have joined in. If you're planning to do it from somewhere else like Udemy or some live training courses, you can always be getting a certificate. But like I said, hold on to that. No need to go for external vendor, and you can save some dollars there because things will be free for you very soon. And course which you completed for PMP, let's say, and the qualifying hours. So PDU stands for Professional Development Unit. One PDU is equal to 1 hour. PMI says that you need to have 35 PDUs for sitting for the PMP exam, which means you need to have 35 hours of training on project management to be minimum eligible for the exam. Okay. And the last part is once you have got all the details, once you have done all the homework, then you to just have a PMI account to kick the process off and you can start up a registering. And we already have discussed and shared the tips and details about what if you are a member, how much money you are saving, uh, a member versus a non-member, and so on. Okay, you will see the cost of the live class, right? So PMA exam prep, the live class is like $998. I will say, let's not go for them because they are very costly, I will say. And instead of them, the same content, same quality, you'll be getting it free very soon. Um, Now, why you need to be very careful about the companies you worked and the experience you're giving with the exact dates and the experience, because this is something is going to happen. Audit. When 2014 I gave the exam, the audit was a rampant thing. Like it is to happen maybe out of 3 guys, maybe 1 guy will get the audit and 2 guys will not have an audit. But nowadays, what I hear, almost everyone gets an audit. Now, audit means that if you are chosen, so audit means that once you submit the application, PMI will give you one email that thank you for doing the application process for PMP. We will come back to you in 7 working days. And then after 7 working days, they will come back to you. They may say that, okay, congratulations, your application has been approved, and you can now click on this link to pay for your to pay through the Prometric or whatever the Pearson view and book a seat. However, chances are very high you will get a mail which says your application has been selected for a random audit by our panel, and please provide the following documentations. So which means they will give you, I think 14 days is the count, because when I was like sitting for my PGMP exam in 2019, that point of time they asked me for an audit, and I had to get all the documentations done, and I used FedEx, and I had to send those documentations hard copy to US in Princeton to PMI. And then again, they took 7 days to review my documents and tell me over email that, okay, congratulations, your documents are meeting the requirements. So you need to have a copy of the degree. You don't have to send out your original degree certificate to anyone, but definitely a copy of that. A verification of experience signed by the supervisor. Okay, if it's in this company, then get it signed off by your manager or your project lead, whosoever it was. Let's say you are a network engineer and you have worked for a day one site launch, then you can get it signed off by a TPM as well, because the TPM was the kind of the program manager, the vertical manager under which you worked, right? Under which you had a dotted line. Or you can get it signed off by your functional manager as well, who will be the engineering manager. Okay. And also keep a certificate of the proof of the 35 hours of PM experience. Now, these 3 things, keep them handy, keep them ready. Do not wait for the audit mail to hit you, because audit mail, the chance is very high that it will hit you. Okay, that's why be very truthful. If you think in your, because you know best your experience, right? If you think that no, don't have the sufficient experience, I don't meet the 36 months or the 60 months bar, hold on to it till you have that experience. Do not try to take a route which is like I will type in anything and PMI will accept. It will not happen. The application process is a good high bar there. Now, coming to the benefits, if you're a member or a non-member, you save some money as a member. People might say that as a member, I'm going to pay like membership, like as a member, the PMP exam in Indian currency is 21,000 rupees. Non-member is 30,000 rupees. And though the membership charges itself is close to 8,000. So that calculates for this non-member also. Like if I want to be a member, the amount I have to pay for the membership, like $100, that will add up to this amount and that will make it the exact fee like a non-member. But the benefit is more than that. So first time exam when you give, you may not be getting the benefit as a member because you already have paid the membership fees, which is valid for 1 year. But when you give the exam, let's say something bad happens and you couldn't pass the exam the first go. Many people don't pass the exam in first go because of a very demanding work-life balance you have got. You don't get time in the weekends to or stretch hours to work on your PMP certification. In those cases, if something bad happens, if you cannot make it for or make the cut in the first go, then second time when you give the exam for the non-member, again the fees will be same. They have to pay the same fees. But if you are a member, the fees will go down. I think it comes down to almost half. Similarly, third time also if somebody is sitting. So once your application is approved, you get 3 attempts within 1 year, which you can give. First attempt, full fees. Second attempt, half, and third is also half. Okay. But non-member, all the three, they have to give the full short payment. So so that's the benefit. And the other benefit is that if you become a member, you get options to join your local PMI chapters. So chapters are the local bodies of PMI. If you join them, like in Bangalore, I have got one, and I used to visit that at least till 2017, 18. I visited. Now I did not go there, but when I used to visit that, then I used to get networked with a lot of program managers and portfolio managers from reputed companies. It builds your own professional network. Okay. All right. After all this, if your application is approved, then you get a link, a separate link from PMI, which tells you click on the link to schedule your exam and book your seat. It will normally be a Pearson, and you will be getting the chance to fill up with your credit card. Okay. Now, before doing all this, let's go and find out what is the application process. So this is like continue. I'm clicking on this, apply for PMP certification. And there, let me get into, it tells me your application has not been submitted because I just tried some dummy stuff. Then I will go there, go to my PMI, and the page will load up to submit my application. So this is my dashboard. Don't focus on the dashboard like details. These are all like kind of dummy, you can say. I will go to PMP application, continue application. So there, once the page fires up, you will see that it's got 3 sections. Okay, let the page come up. So the first section will be about your education qualifications. Okay, this is, and let me go to education. And the second one will be about your experience. And the third one will be your details for the exam. So education, the moment like I selected here, master's degree, the moment you select master's degree, the secondary will be here checked, and automatically PMI will say that you need 60 hours. I mean, sorry, 36 months. Okay, and this is the second part is about your professional education, which you are showing that you have got 35 hours of PDU and you flag it there and you can do all that. Okay, so this part is easy where you put in your academic education and your professional education, which is simple, right? The key part is this one where we are going for the experience. Now, experience, it gives you a segment like that. Now, be careful on this. It automatically tells you that you need 0 to 36 months because in the last page I had submitted that I am already a degree holder or a master degree holder, right? So in that way, PMI will say, okay, this guy is for 36 months. If you say you're a diploma holder, PMI will say it is 60 months. Now here it tells that the total months will be calculated from start date to finish date. Number one, experience must be listed separately, like every project you have done, everything should be a separate block and have been accrued with specific non-overlapping periods, which is very important. Do not give any projects like 3 projects in the same timeline. That will not be considered by the PMI. If you want to pick up the one which is like having the maximum timeline, and pick up only that one during that timeline. Okay. Specific details can be found in the handbook. So keep your handbook like ready, which is like gives you a proper detailed view on how to apply. Now let me show you. Project title, let's say you can give ABC. Organization, let's say XY. Job title, this is something where people think that do I really have to be a project manager or something? No, you don't have to be. You can be let's say a tester. Let's say software tester. That is also fine because they may be engaged in a uh, project, right? Which will be having an end date and which is unique. So again, when you think about what is the project have I done versus what is the activity I have done, always remember the definition of the project which I shared with you in the very beginning. Okay, which is about a project is a temporary endeavor which will result in a unique product, service, or result, right? So anything which has got an end date and which is giving you a unique output. So that will be considered as a project. Functional reporting area, probably you can select something like IT or ITS or IS, and primary focus of the org. Your org might be, let's say if it is aerospace or construction, or you can think about telecom or whatever you want. Okay, let's say telecom. Okay. Approach methodology. Now, this is the point where PMI has made the change. So now it is giving you 3 options. In my time, like 2014, I had got only one option called waterfall. That was the only PMP meant waterfall. And if you wanted to do anything beyond this one, then you have to go for specific certifications like a certified Scrum Master or a PMI ACP and all that. But waterfall was like PMP means the conventional waterfall. But now they have changed it. Now they're telling PMP also is done by people who have done agile projects, who have done hybrid. Hybrid is a mix of waterfall plus agile. So if it's a straight away waterfall, so your day one site launches in CIS will be a straight away waterfall because the scope is fixed, right? The budget is fixed and the time is also fixed. From the beginning, you know when the day one is, right? So these 3 things are fixed. You know your launch date. You know your scope is fixed. You know what is the scope. It's about turning on the site with the wired, wireless, AV, and all that to be working. So that's a completely waterfall project. If you think that you have done something agile, where the scope kept on changing for some time. Maybe you have done some sprints. Maybe you wrote some AWS, coding over a time, which went through version after versions, version 1, version 2, version 3. Then that will be an example of agile, right? You have continuously reworked on the product. But first project which you launched, that was the minimum viable product. Or the last one can be hybrid, where you are having a mixture of waterfall plus agile. Maybe certain components of the project you have done in the 5 process groups and certain components you have done in the sprint way. So that also can be considered. But whatever it is, ensure if you select the waterfall, the traditional one, then again the team size, let's say in a CIS day one, maybe your complete team size is not only just your internal team, also think about the external teams. So maybe it is security and AV and local IT, and these are the people who are working with you, right? But then you will be having teams which are working with the cable integrator or the vendors or the telco designer. All these are people who are to be considered as well. You can give it like 15 to 19 maybe. So it's a big team which you work with, right? And they are not reporting to you, but it's a team for the project, or the project team rather. Budget, that's up to you what you want to give it, and then you have to give the exact numbers, or just a range is okay. Okay. Project dates, be careful, because if the audit happens and if you are going to get a signature from your manager or project lead, then be careful that these dates are correct. Okay. Description, this is where you have to write it down. This is where the actual fun happens. It talks about that let me just make the screen bigger. Okay, description that summarizes your experience and includes the project objective, outcome, your role on the project, your responsibilities and deliverables. So all this has to be like written one by one. So first of all, you have to write project objective. Okay, there you will be writing this, and then second will be the outcome. Okay, third will be my role. Okay, fourth will be responsible. Exactly go in this frame and write it. And then once when you have written, then you also write that breakdown of uh, project work. And then you will say, let's say it's a 100-hour project, and you divide the project into initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and control, and closing, right? Now, you cannot say that 100 hours you spent on the initiating. So know this, that the maximum hours which you will spend on the project is planning. So you might say that you spend, let's say, 40 hours in planning. I'm just giving you a rough thing, right? Execution, you might have spent 35 hours. And like that, you calculate the hours and make it in such a way. In some projects, you may not be in the complete cycle. Maybe initiating was not at all with you. You started with the planning, which normally happens with the day one. If you're a TPM for a CIS day one launch, then generally you start with the planning phase. Okay, so start with planning and execution and monitoring control and finally closing, where you hand it over. You did the UAT and everything in the monitoring control, and the lessons learned and all that stuff will be done in the closing. Now we are going to again deep dive into each of these process groups. As of today, we have only deep dived into initiating, but planning is something where you are going to make the project plan in terms of scope, cost, time. The schedule has to be calculated, the cost has to be calculated, the budget has to be done, even the buffer of the budget has to be done. Then again, your baselines has to be defined, and your and more than that, your planning for the quality has to be done, your risk management has to be started and all that stuff. So risk management starts off in the project charter itself, but what I'm trying to say, your risk register build up, that all happens in planning phase. uh, Monitoring control is again something where you have to know that how the execution is going. So execution is basically how the plan is going, right? And monitoring control is that you have a check, is there any deviation from the baselines which you formed in the planning. The deviations are the key ones: scope, cost, time. Okay. And closing is when all is done and you disengage with the project team and you hand over the project to the stakeholders, you do the lessons learned. So have a writing on them, each one of them, like number of hours spent and what you did in planning, number of hours spent, what you did in execution. That will give you more kind of a concrete data into this project. Just don't write about these 5 steps, because these 5 steps will lead you to further questions from PMI. When they do the audit, they will say what was exactly your activity or your role in the project. If you just say that my role was a software tester, I tested, that may not be sufficient. You have to actually write in the 5 process groups what was your role and how many hours that add to. Now, if all these hours are adding to 100, then you will say, okay, my project A is giving me 100 hours. Then go to project B, something like that. So you save this experience. Uh, okay, description 100 words. We can just make something dummy here. Okay. Now this is something where I would like you to write it down on a notepad or Excel sheet, verify it, and then come and just paste it here, because that will actually add more value, or else it's a uh, problem, because your application has to be done in the best way which you can. So start date, I will just say maybe March. Year, I will say 2017. End date, again, let's say March, April, May, June, July, maybe August, or let's say September in the same year, 2017. Some projects can go for 1 year also. Okay, 1 year or more than that. There are very large projects that you have to again explain. Okay, or probably you are giving a very large project launch. Let's say campus kind of a launch. Let's say Height 13 in India, right? So a big large project launch will be happening in 3 phases. The first phase can be MDF, where you do like 6 floors, and then the second phase is 7 more floors, third phase is 7 or 8 more floors, and so on, right? So that also can be given. If you want to do that way, then you can give project A, B, C, D, and each that complete project like continues in that fashion. Or you can give it as a one single project with your work in each of the areas. That will be also be adding up a lot of content there, and a lot of hours will be explained. Okay, but whatever you do, you ensure that your hours are okay. Budget required, we'll give it like up to 1 million, uh, and let's save it. Now once you save the experience, PMI will automatically calculate that your ABC is giving you 7 months. Okay, so you have done 7 of 36 months. Now you have to give more. So like that, you have to give the experience, which is coming exactly to 36. I will recommend strongly that give it more than 36. Give it like 38 or 40 because it sounds very, very unrealistic when people are giving 36 out of 36 because that's not how the real world works, right? And when you have worked in the real world, you have not worked like tomorrow I have to sit for the PMP exam, so let me just finish 36, right? It may be 36 or 38 or 40. That's okay, but give it a number which is more than 36. That adds more, realism into the picture. The credibility is there. Okay. All right, that's about the application process, the breakdown. Now, any help you want on this application, feel free to reach out to me. I can sit down with you and I can help you in writing at least one project with you from where you will be getting the experience on how to write down the projects. Because writing down the projects in PMP application is very important. Do not underestimate that. Basically, based on that, your application will either be rejected or approved. Okay, if it goes for an audit, still better, but there is something which happens prior to audit. PPMI may straight away say that this application is being rejected. Then you will not be able to apply for PMP exam in the next 12 months. Okay, any questions so far?
No, it's all clear.
Okay, great, awesome. So that's all about the experience, and then the remaining part is simple. So experience, I'm not going to stretch too much because you can just click on this add and keep on adding till it comes down to 36 plus months. And the last part is about your exam details, which is simple, which is not coming up right now. It's all about which location you want to give the exam, and and so on. The date which you want to set and all that. So that's a different story. But the first part is important. The most crux of the application is the experience, and you have to break it down. If you're doing an agile, then break it down into which agile process you followed for this. Was it Scrum or was it Kanban, or was it a Scrum plus Kanban like a Scrum ban, or was it a lean, whatever it is. Normally in CIS, I have seen that people are generally following Scrum. They do sprint wise kind of approach. One sprint is normally 1 to 2 weeks, and you can give a Scrum kind of a project as well. Okay, but mention that, select agile in the drop down, and then you give the Scrum experience. So that's kind of the application process, check-in. Now, one more thing which I wanted to talk about is, yeah, how much time do you need to sit? Like, if today you're submitting the application, let's say all is being done and dusted by the end of April, okay, and you got to choose your seat. Which day should you preferably choosing your seat? I will always say that keep 6 months with you. Okay, 5 to 6 months. People say that they are completing or they are successfully doing the exam in 4 months, but I will always say keep a little bit more buffer because at professional life we are very busy. We may not be having all the days time to go through all the books, so it's good to keep a buffer of 1 or 2 months so that you don't really have to stretch too hard, and and you get more time to practice. Okay, the practice way will be get a hard copy for you. Hard copy book for you can be Rita or any book, uh, which you think it's good. Keep a hard copy book with you. You can also go with Udemy or online, where you find a lot of mock exams. I'm not talking about trainings there, but mock exams. They're not dumb though. Just mock exams are there to ensure that your knowledge is more sharpened. So try to handle as much mock exam questions as you can, and then finally you sit for the exam and try to pass it in the very first go. Okay, I will take one session completely on the exam tips and tricks, how to time manage in the exam, how many questions will you see there, and for each question how you get time, and how to really ensure that you are cracking the exam in the first go. Okay, so I could not crack the exam in the first go. Okay, I passed in the second attempt, and the reason I could not crack the exam in the first go was not that I was not prepared, but I was very poor in time management. So the time, in my time, it was like 4 hours straight exam with no breaks at all, and used to get 200 questions. So that means that hardly 1+ minute for every question, and I spent a good amount of time on cracking some complex questions, and I wasted time there. And at the last stage, I kind of I struggled with the last like 20 questions, like somehow clicked on them and came out. So second time I was very careful, and I will tell you what I did the second time, which made me pass, which will be useful to you. So time management is the essence. Now PMI has done a good thing. What they are doing, they're giving two solid breaks. Like in 2014, when I gave the exam, then also you can take a break, like a washroom break or just a 5 minute short break. But you can take a break, but the clock on your computer will keep on running. So you lose the time when you take the break. But now PMI is giving like 10 minutes break, solid breaks. I think you complete 60 questions or something, you get the first break. And then again, some questions, you get a second break, which is, I think, a very nice way to give the exam because my time was more stressful. I will say with no breaks in 4 hours, it really makes you feel mad at times. But with 10 minutes break, it gives you a lot of, I will say, breathing air, right? So we'll come to that. We'll keep one session for the discussion of the entire exam. How to ace that in first attempt and what you need to do to ensure that you are working backwards and doing the preparation in the correct fashion and format. Okay, I think that's all I wanted to share today. The next session we are going to again dive into the planning stage because this was not a part of the curriculum, but I wanted to make sure that you all are shooting or kicking off your application process. That is very important. The faster you do it, the better it is, and the faster you start writing, it's better for you to get into the process of the audit or the examination, and then you can get the mail that okay, your application has been approved, and then you can go and make the payment. So booking the slot is the important thing. After that, you get a stretch of 6 months, then you can plan out your 6 months how to study. Some people, they do like something like this. They spend, like, I will spend four weeks on each of the process. Okay, that also is a good way. Like, I will spend 4 weeks on initiating itself. I will know everything about a project charter, everything about a stakeholder register, everything about a business case, and then I will go to planning. 4 weeks on planning. Again, I will spend all the time in the world, for how to calculate cost, how to calculate schedule, how to do the risk register, and all that. Then I will go to execution, monitoring, controlling, and finally closing. That also is a good way. But I will say that the important knowledge areas, the five knowledge areas which should be at the back of your hand to ace the exam is always stakeholder management, uh, scope, cost, time, and risk. If you know these five, there are five other like procurement and HR, and so on and so forth. But these five, if you are a master, stakeholder, scope, time, cost, and risk, you kind of are a master of the PMP exam. Okay. All right. With that, I came to the end of the session. Any questions so far? Okay. Silence means no. All right then. Thank you. I wish you all a great day and a great time. Meet you again next week. Cheers.